This week's title is about the dissemination of Buddhism and Hinduism. So I want to use the Ajanta Caves as an example for us to talk about the dissemination of Buddhism. But before I start, I want all of us to think about one general question. If you have a thought and you want to disseminate the thought, what do you do? How do you do it? Think about it. You can maybe work with the content, the thoughts, so that a little bit, edit your thought a little bit so that it's more appealing to your audience, to kind of decorate it a little bit or change things that's more can be received much easier, conveniently, right? For the audience. That's making changes to the audience. Or you can work with the way you disseminate your thoughts, right? You print out flyers, put out ads, so that people are aware of it. You wouldn't want to put out ads to the people who may not be interested in your thoughts, right? You want to focus on your intended audience. You want to know where they go to, right? Things your audience would see, and then you will put your ads there. This is very similar to Buddhism, right? And also, as you go, right, if you become some kind of religious leader, and you want to expand the influence of your thoughts, maybe you need to change the forms of your thoughts, or the storytelling, the narrative of your thoughts as you go, so that people from different cultural backgrounds are willing to pause and then listen to you. And that, in this video, I think we're trying to find out that might be something Buddhism has been doing for its audience to gain the momentum along the way. And I'm starting with this slide is because I want to show you the different ways of depicting the Buddha, because Buddhism is changing forms along the way that it spreads. It goes to China, it changed to different storytelling, different appearance. When it goes to Japan, or when it stays in South Asia, changes constantly. And now we want to zoom in to this place. Ajanta Cave. This is in this suburban area in India. We found this cave temples, this cave monasteries, a lot of them, as you can see, along the cliff that they dig and built, just relying on the structure of the rocks. They built all these spaces along the cliff, and this is not any beaten path. This just out of nowhere, more isolated spots. So the first question that comes to us is, why this place? Why not build in downtown area? Why not build a temple in downtown area to get the most influence out of this, to receive the most audience? Well, many reasons. First of all, isolated spots. For monks, it's quiet. It's easier for them to meditate, right, in these cold and dark spaces. And that's that's the meaning of building monasteries, right? So they want it to be isolated. It doesn't want it to be so traveled, so much traffic along the way. That's one thing. And second of all, think about, right, a couple of weeks ago when we talk about the Buddha, when we talk about the origin of the Buddha, how did the prince, the Siddhartha Gautama, how did he become enlightened, reach the enlightenment and becomes the Buddha, right? And reach the nirvana and becomes the Buddha. He meditates and meditates under the tree and in a isolated place, right? And use the cave. And maybe that's an analogy, and maybe that's a storytelling that convinces themselves to follow the Buddha's footsteps. And so they built the temple, this caves along the cliffs. Started as early as 200 BCE, 100, 200 BCE, and then all the way on and on as they expand, right? Because they can just keep building it, keep building them along the cliffs, which is really long. And now let's go into one of the caves, Cave 26 at Ajanta Caves, which is built more at the later phase of this cave building along the Ajanta area. It's in the 5th century, so it's a more mature and complete structure to it. Very quickly we see, this is a facade, right? We're walking facing the cave, and we see a stupa, right? We see a stupa in the middle, and it's freestanding, so the monks will go in, the worshipper, they will worship the Buddha, which is at the front of the stupa, carved at the front. This is one big rock, right, along the cliffs. So this is all rocks. You just need to dig. It's not about building. It's more about digging, don't you think? But still a lot of work. And the monks would worship in front and then circumambulate as one of the ways to meditate inside of this dark and cold, well, not cold, I would rather say cool, because in the summer this area in India was really hot. So, a cave would serve them a lot of goods so that they can get away from the heat even and focus more on their meditation. So, how to meditate? Again, circumambulating again around the stupa inside of this cave. And this space that I'm talking about is called the Chaitya, which is the praying hall. Right? We have a really high ceiling right here with decorative ambulatory, right, with beautiful reliefs surrounding the stupa in the middle. And you see these columns too, don't you see? Think about this. This is a cave. This is a cave. You dig in there to create the space. You don't need column to support your roof. Right? These columns are purely decorative. So why do they build these columns in there, right? For aesthetics reason. And why do they adopt this aesthetics? Because they have, when they want to build a cave, they need to learn somewhere. And this is the architectural, the more Greco-Roman, right? Because it's columns, more Greco-Roman style that has the influence to them. And they absorb this influence into their cave building. It's not so much of a concern of the structural concern, but it's more of a aesthetic concern or cultural concern. This is something that they perceive as architecture. So they would build it the way they visualize it. Columns, purely decorative. but that's the style that's available to them. Praying hall called the Trita. So on both sides we have the Vihara. Which is the lodging space for monks. Tiny spaces, cells, right, on both sides that you don't see from here. Behind all these columns, you see those little cells for the monks after praying. They stay there. It becomes part of the meditation. It might say a stone pillow, stone bed, and then surrounding all these cells are and also you see this in cave 26 to the side we have the sleeping Buddha as well. So different incarnations of the Buddha. And so again, back to surrounding them are the walls, and the walls are decorated with murals, and the murals are, and the things that's painted on the murals, the subject of the murals are Jataka tales. And Jataka tales, what are they? Jataka tales are the previous life, right, of the Buddha, of the prince, before he became the Buddha. So it's kind of like this didactic tales that tells about the life, or the perseverance, the selflessness of the prince. More didactic, right? To teach people how selfless, or how great the Buddha is. There are many versions, many of the Jataka tales, and which you've already had read some of them, and this is one of them, called the Vasantara Jataka, which you see the prince here, the Vasantara prince here. This is the Vasantara prince again with a parasol, because right here, sorry, always surrounded by attendants. And this is in the royal court on top of a throne. How he the generosity of him, how he give away things to help the poor, the people in need. Has no interest in the luxurious good. And you see this Bodhi tree right here, which is also a symbol of the Buddhism. And if I may go back to the textbook, and you see this is a map, a bird's eye of the different caves along the cliffs. And this is water on the other side of the cliffs. And these are some of the Chaitya halls and the Vihara cells. Some of them are separated, some of them are connected. Okay. On your textbook, then this is the Chaitya hall that we talked about, and even the dormicular roof has some traces of the Greco-Roman style. And this is another mural. There's so many murals talk about the Jataka tales. This is that mural talks about the prince. And you see the prince here on the throne. And if I can, you see the prince here. Prince, and this is his wife on the throne. You see again surrounded by all these attendants, but he's pretty aloof, pretty indifferent to this royal and worldly good. All he wants to do is just to save the poor. So he decided to leave behind all this luxurious royal lifestyle and go out of the gate. Right, this is a gate, and on the horseback leave all these worldly good behind, and you see still always surrounded by the attendants, royal attendants, to see how literally he's elevated with the horseback here on the throne, elevated, literally physically, but also very importantly, in his status, because he's a prince. But he gave away all of this. He abandoned all of this in search of a meditation, in search of nirvana. These Jataka tales, which, if you visualize it, you see all of this Jataka tales on the walls as you're meditating in these caves. It helps. Don't they help you? Don't they help you with the meditation to achieve the higher, get closer to the nirvana, which is the oneness, right? Everything is just meaningless. Everything is just one element, which is the simple, which is the center truth, center concept in Buddhism. If I may go back to this Chaitya Hall briefly, because I want to talk, very lastly, I want to talk about the patron. Who would be the patron of these caves? Maybe merchants. Why? Because this caves, they're built along with many other caves, they're built along the trade routes where the merchants would pass by. And remember, the topic of this chapter is the dissemination of Buddhism. And you want to be isolated spots, of course, but you want to be along somewhere. People would travel. People would be closer to your audience, and then the merchants goes, they travel all across the area, a wider area, and that's how Buddhism, right, disseminated from in these caves, but also words to mouth of this worshippers.